Okay, this is the introduction to the PON demo. Everything's going to start. We're going to start out with everything set up. So here's the PON fiber network. It has been configured with 32 splitter ports, which you can see here in the tree. The name that is automatically given to them is ONT1, 2, 3, 4, unless they've been given specific names. You can see that here in this table. This is where you can change the names and change status or whatever you need to do. Okay, and we have a reference trace set, and we have a current trace which is run. This is currently all of the markers which have been defined, 16 optical event markers for reference. The latest trace has everything matched up and synchronized so that everything looks green from the last trace we took. We can see other events which are not so significant that are picked up by the FAS type of stuff for PON. But generally we only care about these significant events here. When we go to set a reference trace, our reference trace is already set. So what it gives us is various options that we have. We can adjust all these. These are triggered to adjust, and we can save changes only if there's changes to be saved. We save two values, the positional difference. So everything's really close together. Everything's within 1 meter, so this is the furthest one out we'd have. They all have a little bit different peaks. These numbers are almost always going to be different every trace, so that's why we're going to have the option to. It's going to give you the option to save all of them, and what it'll do is it'll take these differences and automatically assign them to the reference traces. So for now, we're just going to we're just showing you the features here. So we can look at the we can see the different events that are on here. Let's do this. Let's go here. So here we can see the splitter here. This is at 419 here. This is the splitter, and these are the events that are following right here. 439, 4. Yeah, those. Okay, this is just a quick segment where I'll show the graph, usage of the graph. I'm actually not very good at it, so but I just wanted to show various points on the graph where we can see. You can see where the different events are. So this is actually the beginning of the event for 40, 47, 65. So this is this reflection is port 10. You can see it. The beginning here, 4062, it's this one. The width is 16, which you can see is about that. Yeah, it's about this here. So we can see the width of the various events. Okay. Okay, this is going to be link and adjust, and then we're going to run a trace and see the difference. So here we go to the link and adjust with the set reference, and we say, yeah, we want to first adjust all these. We want to adjust all these values so that our current trace, our current markers are lined up with the other ones, with the current trace we just took. So we're gonna, and I'm also going to set the reference trace so that we have the one trace. Okay, looks like everything there completed. And everything has been adjusted. So now if we go back to the reference trace, it's not gonna give us anything to save, and everything's gonna be kind of in this gray tinted text, and nothing's gonna be bolded because there's no peak differences and there's no positional differences. So everything's already synced. So there's really nothing to do here. Okay. So now we're gonna take a trace and see how this varies but still lines up, and we should not get any alarms because we don't actually have any fibers pulled or anything like that. Okay, there it goes. Okay, the trace is running. Yep, trace is running. Okay, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, I'm recording here because the trace is about to return. It should. Okay, here come the events across. I'm looking at the probe. Okay, now this should go blue, and we should have a nice lineup of the graph. Let's see. Yep. Okay, the blue trace came back, and then we have a new set of events. Everything's green. I haven't touched the network. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a link and adjust, and it's going to say, okay, everything's pretty much the same still. Okay, this event seems to vary a little bit. It's almost a meter. It's almost going to start to give some warnings if it's off too much, so I'll have to look at that. But the threshold's at 3 meters, so it's still fine. So we don't need to do anything there. That's close enough. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Rajiv pull one, and we're going to run another trace. Okay. Okay, now a new ONT has been plugged in to the network, and we are going to see if it shows up here. So we're going to run a new trace, and we're going to see what happens. So this is the first part. Everything going. Yep, okay. All good. It's running, okay? And we'll come back when it's done. Okay, so now we have the new trace that comes back, and you can see here that in this current trace we've got this new event, and even though these are very close together, it still detects it as a new event. So we can see here at 4058 we've got a new ONT. Now we've also got some new adjustments that can probably be made, and a new event that can be added to the system. So if we come into here, it'll show us that we've got all these adjustments to make. These events, these initial events, look like they're spot on for distance from the last time we ran from our reference trace. Here we have some minor adjustments in distance that have been made, and then we have this new event, which is here. Now we don't have to sync these all the time. If you have a new event that comes in, you can just say, oh, well, we want to just add this to the reference trace. And you add it, and now, boom, there it is. 4058. Here it is. So now our new reference trace has been added. Now we say, okay, let's add, let's make this an ONT. We want this, we know this is an ONT, we know what this is, we can make it an ONT, or we can assign it to a port. So here are our various ports. Some we've given names, some we haven't. And we can assign it. I have to look at the diagram to see what actual port this is. Let's see. The report is. Let's see. Let me look at. Oops, I got freaking. Now you have to cut that out. Trying to see what port this is. 4058. We can look at the distance from the splitter is 38. Okay, and we know we have a, okay, we know we have one, it's 3888, we know we have one at 39, that's port 12. So, we just go, oh, that's port 12, and we assign it. Now it's port 12. This has got multiple ports assigned, and anytime you go to the editor, it'll first start with the selection that you've got for those. So we can reselect something else if we want and change those. Anytime you select anything, so we know what it is. It's always selected there. And if something's been taken, it's now not bolded. Bolded ports are unassigned ports that don't have any nothing assigned, so we can assign those to any system so that we can see that data in the alarm. And there we go. That's a new event. So now I'm going to, well, we've already set this. This is now the reference. We don't need to synchronize it. So now what we're going to do is pull a port and see if we get an alarm, see if we get a missing port. Okay. Okay. For this, we're gonna run a trace. A fiber has been pulled on the system. But the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to reset the current trace and readjust everything so that we can have everything clean and we can compare the next trace against the reference trace. Okay, everything's adjusted. You can verify this. Everything's clean. Okay. Now we have our two events here, and we are going to run a new trace and see what got pulled. Okay. Okay, there it goes, and we're running. And we'll come back when it's done. Okay, now we run a trace on the fiber, and here's the result. The port 10 has been pulled, and you can see from the graph that this event now, which was black here as part of the reference event, is now missing, and it comes up as a red missing port. I'll show you all there is to show here. Now, with reference events, now if you want to set a reference, maybe that ONT is supposed to be gone, or you want to remove it, or you don't want to monitor it. So you have a couple options here. When you try and resync the last trace, it looks like everything's pretty good. Now it's going to have a delete here. But it's not selected by default. That's because most likely you want to keep it as an alarm, but in the event that you want to resync all the events and you know that that's an ONT that has now been decommissioned or taken out or removed, or for whatever reason, you can add it to the list of things to remove when you group resync. But we're going to leave it there. We want to keep it. Or maybe you decide, oh yeah, I know about that, but I don't want to get any alarms on that. I don't. That's not really an event I want. You could set it to ignore, and then the system will ignore it, like we did this event here. This is a back reflection that, or like I don't know, some kind of something around the splitter that just is close to the splitter. And then if you have different events you want to mark as ignore, you can not display them here in the reference event, so they don't get displayed. But then if you need to see them, you can re-enable. So that's the break. Okay, here I'm going to demonstrate how to change ports here, or how to set things as ports. So here, this is a detected event which was automatically moved from a current trace over to here. So if we want to set it, then all we do is look for a port that's not been already assigned, and we assign it. From our diagram, this one is 9. Okay, so we assign it, and now it's 9. And now when we get an alarm, we know that this is port 9 on our switch. Okay. Okay, here I'm going to demonstrate adding events that are low detection or no detection. Let's say you run a trace and there's no you get a lot of these events which are very small. They're called let's get the focus here. They're called liberal or small reflections. And sometimes they don't show up necessarily if it's a very tiny reflection in here. So, but the user has the ability to add them if they think they're significant. Like maybe they go, oh, I know that 4380, I do have an ONT there, so I'm going to add this to my references, to my reference settings. So now I have a 4380 right here. So it takes all those settings. Now it's not going to alarm, and then you can also assign this. You can say, I'm going to assign this, I'm going to call this my text center on port 5. It's not going to alarm if I get if it doesn't appear the next time because the reflection is so small. But it's for documentation purposes, or maybe it doesn't get detected at all over here, and the user has the ability to just say, oh, I have a reflection at 5,000, and it's my text center 6. So we add this in. Now at 5,000 we have text center 6, and we have these two events. They're not being monitored, but we have them in our events. And that's it.